Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a great day. So today I ran into one of my past clients, and she gave me a great big hug, and we got to talking for a minute. And after we left each other, I got to thinking about how we met and what that looked like, and that phone call. I remember like it was yesterday. She said, "Hi, I'm Stella. I've watched a couple of your videos on Facebook, and I really like the personal touch that you have with your clients. I think it's time for me to sell my home." And it got quiet. And it got really quiet. Like Stella just said something she thought she would never say in her whole life. And I knew this wasn't a time to rush into numbers, strategy, marketing. Um, Instead, I said, "Stella, why don't you give me your address? I'll come over and we'll talk for a while." And so Stella gave me her address, and I drove over there, and I show up, and the curb appeal on this house is absolutely gorgeous. I could tell that this lady's whole life is wrapped up behind these four walls. And she greets me and brings me in the house and starts walking me around and showing me this is where my kids grew up, and her started to get a little smile on her face, and this is where we spent Christmas every year. And then her smile got even bigger, and we go into the kitchen and we sit down at this little tiny breakfast nook, and she says, "And this is the place I used to sit and drink my coffee every day." And these kind of memories, this is not something you just start rushing into. I This mattered to her. It mattered a lot. So I sat there and I listened for a while, and I said, "Stella, look, if we're going to do this, I really want to do this right, and we'll get top dollar for your home." So for the next couple of weeks, we sat side by side, decluttering, preparing. She shared all kinds of traditions, stories, places her kids got hurt at, all kinds of things like that. And it started to not feel like a transaction anymore. It started to feel more like a transition, um, something special, And when it came time to list her house, I could see how she was getting a little nervous. She was getting emotional, and but she was proud. She was proud of her home, and we started to have these showings, and families started to come in, and we're seeing kids run up and down the halls, right? And they're having fun in this house. And over in the corner, you see a husband, a wife, and their picture, and their furniture in this house, And it got really emotional for Stella, And I look over at her and I said, "You see that?" I said, "That is your chapter making room for theirs." And when the offers came in, they came in hard and they came in big, big offers, big numbers, But it wasn't about how much she was going to get, Is it? She was so happy and comfortable knowing that she did it right. And on closing day, when it came time to close, we were standing in this living room, and she looks around for one last time, and she got emotional, and I don't blame her. There was a lot of history in this home, and she looked around, and then she handed me the keys for the final time, and we went outside, and she pulled me aside and she said, "Brandon, thank you so much for understanding what this meant to me." And that reminds me every day of why I do this. That personal relationship I get to have with these clients. If that's something you're interested, or if you have any questions, or interested on how to declutter or prep your home for sale, give me a call at 909-236-6055. Stay blessed out there, guys. Bye-bye.